third quarter final, Gary, is the Rapparees against the Harriers. Now, before we get Larry's thoughts, which might be a little bit biased, the Harriers, I suppose, started off quite slowly in the championship, but they've managed to win their last two games. They beat St Anne's. They had to beat them, or else they were in the relegation final, and they seem to have come into a good vein of form in the last couple of games.
Yeah, look, it's a little bit evident lie, isn't it? But I think every year we see an upset in these quarter-finals somewhere along the way, and if there's going to be an upset, I think this could be the one. Again, Lee Chin is probably the best club hurler in the county on his day. You know, he's unmarkable at times, and I wasn't at the game over the weekend, but I believe that was the case. So, you know, that's a major factor for the Harriers. They have a lot of good young forwards that can score, and that really will grow in confidence. The town team will always play with confidence if things are going their way and if momentum swings. So, you know, the Raps will have to be a bit, probably the Raps are definitely a more balanced team, but, you know, I just think the Lee Chin factor will have a massive amount in this game, and I'm going to pick one that's sort of not going to go with the grain, and I think this is the one. So I'm going to give the Harriers a hesitant nod.
Larry, obviously the Rapparees are going to be favourites, so the county champions, they're going to go into the game favourites. If you were the manager of the Harriers team, put yourself in Zach Walsh's shoes now, how would you approach trying to beat the Rapparees?
Well, firstly, I wouldn't fit in his shoes anyway because they're that big. But from a point of view, being played against the Rapparees down the years, we are great rivalry between the Harriers and Rapparees. You know, back in this day, you know, to talk about all the big challenges that both town teams came up against one another, and I think this is going to be a classic, to be quite honest. Garry did speak about Lee Chin as well, but I was out at the match last night again, Clubon, and I just thought the likes of Luke Murphy, Darby Purcell, Richie Lawler are playing their part as a forward now as well, so not always relying on Lee to get a couple of scores. Yes, he scored 10 or 12 points last night, mostly frees, but I just thought the lads showed up quite well, so I was delighted with that. But in the previous games I wasn't so happy with some of the performances. From that point of view, I said yes, the Harriers are getting better as the season is getting better. From the Rapparees point of view, yes, they are county champions, and deservedly so. They're also, as Garry said, they're a better balanced team than we are. They're young, they're fit. Liam Ryan is in great form, Kevin Foley's in great form, you know, Ricky Fox and all these lads. So it's going to be a titanic battle, to be quite honest. It's hard to call it. My heart says the Harriers, but I just might think that the Rapparees might just barely get over the line, and it'll be a stickler for us. But because we're not gone into the relegation situation, we're going to play with a little bit more freedom, a little bit more flair, and that's the reason why I think it'll go right down to the wire. But I just think the Rapparees might just have a little bit in the tank at the end. I hope I'm wrong, and if I am, I'll buy the boys around the drinks after.
Well, Gary, you think maybe that the Harriers might just cause the upset here?
I just think they have momentum, Peter, to be honest, and I think momentum is key coming into a quarter final, and they have a shot to nothing. You know, when you're going out in the game, you know, like 2 weeks ago the Harriers were facing into a relegation battle, and you know, anyone that had interest in hurling in Wexford Town was probably very worried about that. You know, now they're going out in the quarter final against a Raps team that's going to be highly favoured. You know, so motivation has to be there for them. You know, this is a game to nothing for them. They have to throw the shackles off, and I think they'll do that. And as I say, I think Lee Chin will lead from the front, and I think the lads will run behind them, and they just might get this job done. It's
a good few years since we've had a team been capable of doing a two in a row in Wexford. I suppose that's an indication of how little there is between many of these different teams, Gary.
Yeah, and all you had to do was look at the last round. You know, there was 5-6 teams in the hunt for either topping the group or maybe not qualifying at all, you know, in both groups. So that just tells you every team can beat each other on a given day. The actual county final winners over the last 3 or 4 years, the difference they had, I think, is they had one marquee forward, or at least one real marquee player. And you know, Rory O'Connor, when the Martins won it, you had Conor Mack, when Garry won it, you know, Kevin Foley, and I suppose the full forward line in general, when the Raps won it, they were able to get goals and had plenty of speed. So, you know, that's the difference, I think, between the teams that are winning these county finals and the teams that are nearly there.
And just before I give my prediction, are you a fan of the current format? It's given the Harriers a chance, I suppose, to build into the championship. What do you think of it?
Yeah. I still think I prefer maybe a gap or two, you know, after every game or something like that. Because if you pick up injuries or like that, if you're a team that has that much strength in depth, you know, if you have say a weakish enough subs to come in or whatever the whole lot, you feel as if the lads that are playing needs a little bit of recovery time. But the system is good, it's grand, and it's moving quite well, and we're happy now because we're in the quarterfinals. If we'd have been in relegation, I'd say please let us stretch on a bit more so we get a little bit more zump into
Well,
these
it was
guys.
the Harriers motion that actually came in, that brought in for the county board. So
Yeah.
I'd say if they had ended up in relegation, it would have been a.
Yeah, it would have come back to
kicking
haunt them.
themselves.
Yeah, but as Garry said, anyone could win this championship. We're all sitting here now. We're talking about the teams that could have been in relegation and the teams that are going forward to the quarterfinals. They're all back training tonight or back training tomorrow night again or whatever, and they'll be all sitting down, working out a plan, working out a system, how to go on. It's amazing the amount of effort and time has gone into preparations now into the local senior championship here, never mind inter-county hurling. So it's gone very professional, and it's great to see, because there's a great interest in hurling now all of a sudden again. The championship is up and running. People are out, they're all watching the matches, and they're all excited about it. So, as I said, it's going to be a bit of a ding-dong battle between the two town teams, but, I'm just hoping that the Harriers could do it, but I still think something about the Rapparees, to me, I've seen them in some of their earlier games, and they're well able to hurl. They're a good balanced team, so I hope I'm wrong, but we'll wait and see.
I'm going to agree with Larry. I think that the Rapparees, just their experience of winning big games, big knockout games in recent years in both football and hurling, could stand to them, and I go with Rapparees.